It is a ticking time bomb, and if we turn our backs on it for, even a short time, it can get away. So we've got to keep on top of them.
If we let wilding pines take over the Mackenzie Basin, the scientists have estimated we will lose up to 80% of the water in the Mackenzie, which will have huge impacts on hydro production, which would impact all New Zealanders, and anyone who irrigates would be hugely impacted by that massive loss of water.
It's a lot of work, it's a lot of labour removing the pines, but it's really worth it because we've got areas of our land that were infested with pines and there was nothing else there, and it was dead. It was like a dead piece of land. But since we've removed them, you can see all these beautiful native plants coming back, as well as trees that we've planted, and you can see the insect and bird life returning, which is really inspiring to see.
Mackenzie Basin is an incredibly unique place in New Zealand, and it's been created by geological processes over time, so mountain building, erosion, and then the whole glacial episodes, and then glacial retreat and the formation of lakes and everything else. And there's a whole raft of species here, plants and vertebrates, lizards and birds. Some of them are only found in the basin, they're totally unique to this site. Some of them are very small, very hard to see, and basically all of them are threatened in some way, shape or form by wilding pines, and particularly if they spread all over this country. They tend to form total monocultures. They're so thick that not even any natives can survive underneath them. We rely on a whole lot of other agencies and volunteers, and Mackenzie Wilding Tree Trust, it requires everyone to pitch in to try and keep these things at bay.
Wilding Free Mackenzie is a not-for-profit community trust. My role with the trust is to engage the community and to raise awareness of the wilding pine problem at a community level. One of the ways we do that is by running volunteer days, getting people on the ground, cutting down the trees.
We volunteer basically because we really enjoy the Mackenzie Basin in particular. It offers so much, and wilding pines take so much away from it. The volunteer days definitely have an impact. You see with some pride the areas that you've cleared when you drive past later. It gives satisfaction because you are achieving something. This environment's precious, it's beautiful, it's something everyone can enjoy. It's ours. We need to protect it and look after it.
Our volunteers are helping make the funding for the national program spread further. That money can then be used to get contractors up into the more difficult to reach areas, more technical sites. One of the things that I've really noticed with the work that I do is that we achieve much greater outcomes when we collaborate with other organisations and other people.
Te Aotearoa is the long walking trail that goes the length of New Zealand from Cape Ring in the north to Bluff. 2,000 to 3,000 people walk the length of it every year. Thousands more walk different parts of it. We want them to engage more with the communities, the landscapes, conservation efforts as they go. So we were looking for conservation projects, and for me, being here in Twizel, being connected to Wilding Free Mackenzie and it being something that I care about. So we put together these boxes here. It gives them a little bit of information about wilding pines. First aid kit, gloves, what you're looking for, how to cut them, and then a collection of silky saws. So for the next 10 kilometers, they walk through this conservation land where there's loads of wilding pines, and they cut them as they go. So we've got, somebody that cut 15, 50, 30-ish, 30, 250, 212, saying it's loads of fun. It's more of an opportunity to get people from all over the world, all over New Zealand, who are out here for Te Aotearoa that might not know anything about wilding pines, to sort of look at the landscape in a different way, look at the pines in a different way, and understand that this landscape is under threat. These wilding pines are a problem.
We could see that one of the biggest problems with this property was this growing forest of wilding pines, and we realised we had to do something about it. And we've got an organic lavender farm which we established, and we're not very keen on toxic sprays. And I always saw this as a potential resource to be used rather than just something to be sprayed and left to stand there. So then I was looking locally. Okay, is there anyone here we can deal with to use this wilding forest as a resource? That's when we started talking to Pioneer. And in 2021 we signed a 6-year agreement with Pioneer to take the whole forest for chip. And when they first started there was about 350 hectares of burnt forest. The burnt trees were good because they were already dry enough to chip straight away. So they started chipping the burnt trees and then moved into the green trees, which were our main priority because we wanted to stop the seed source from spreading onto the rest of the property and to the rest of the surrounding properties.
At the moment we're harvesting green and burnt, cutting the trees down with a shear so we can get them nice and close to the ground, no chains or anything. So then a skidder drags them to where they get processed through and then getting cut up into logs and then goes onto a truck and goes back to their main hub where they get either stacked or the dry ones can get put directly in front of the shed, into front of the chipper. The green ones have sort of got to be stacked up for a minimum of probably 12 months to get them to dry and season. And then from there it's chipped and out the gate on chip liners. Yeah. It all goes to Timaru, it goes to McCain's there, which they make chips out of the wood chips, which is quite cool. And then the other half goes to our 2 boilers at Washtenae that generate steam, that supply DB, juice products and a tannery place out the front.
One of the other ways that we get the community involved is to support landowners who are affected by wilding pines. An example of that is in the past we have teamed up with the Mackenzie District Council and Fire and Emergency New Zealand to offer affected landowners free disposal of their wilding pine slash in the Twizel Township area, with the idea of targeting properties on that rural-urban fringe.
When we bought this property years ago in 2007, we were really excited because it had all these trees on it. We were like, oh, trees, fantastic, we won't need to plant any. And then we were like, oh, right, these are wilding pines. And so we have been chainsawing them down and then hand pulling the smaller ones. So it's been a lot of labour. We've been replanting a lot of exotic trees, but also natives, and then we're letting things regenerate. We've got a lot of different plants here, and then they spread their seeds, and a lot of things are just coming back naturally, which is really cool to see. We propagate a lot of our own hebes because hebes are pretty much indestructible, and so that's been really amazing. We also grow a lot of rosemary, which is nice for the insects. We've had a lot of support from our community on Manuka Terrace. We had a propagation workshop here and we learnt a lot from that, and that was hosted by Wilding Free Mackenzie.
When we bought the property there was a lot of shelter belts and they'd been planted sort of 40 or 50 years ago for stock shelter mainly. They were spreading the seedlings really badly. So for us, we've slowly worked away in taking these shelter belts down to try and eliminate the problem. But the 4-hectare block over here that we took away last year, it was the main seed source for the scientific reserve, the bog pine scientific reserve. And we felt obligated as landowners to do something. We didn't feel it was right seeing Department of Conservation coming in and cutting down wilding trees with the main seed source still being on the northwest, the prevailing wind side of it. So we got a contractor in and felled them all. We're going to have to replant it. It was a great shelter area for stock after shearing time. We can get storms that come through here that can be pretty tough on newly shorn animals, so we will be replanting it, which will cost us an effective sort of $4,000. So by the time we've had the cost of felling them and then the replanting, financially there was no gains in it for us as a property. So it was purely done for safeguarding this land for future-proofing it.
We're on the QE2 covenant, which is sort of halfway between the main road and the Lake Ohau village. We had the fire and I had a lot of fences burnt, and for 2 or 3 years there we didn't have any sheep on it, and coincidentally what happened after that is the wilding pine took off, and it really showed up that you have to be continuously grazing to keep the wilding pine under control. I believe one of the most important things is to get the seed sources gone. You know, if you get the seed source gone, then you've got a chance that with grazing you can keep it under control, and eventually, you know, 20 or 30 years from now, you probably won't have hardly any wilding pine left. The wilding pine, they've got to nibble it when it's just really small. As soon as it becomes a bit more woody, you know, you have to put too much pressure on. So it's best to keep at it all the time.
It doesn't take one person doing tons of things to make a difference. It actually takes a lot of people doing little things. And if you can just focus on your community and see what you can do there, you will actually make a difference in the world.